So now to my pro facilitation tips. It is my deep intention to make this course useful for you, not only to pull off a couple of Energizers, but for you to become a real pro, a pro that encourages others to do the same. And so here we go. Tip number 1, find your tone. Find your tone, set it early in the workshops that you do, right? Really important that first impressions matter in these kinds of contexts. So I'll be talking about how you do that. 2, instructions instruct. The way that you introduce these exercises and encourage others to jump on board is critically important. We'll be talking about that. Match for purpose. So important that you are wise in the way that you select certain Energizer for certain situations. Meta-awareness. This is such an important one as a facilitator to think about, right? The fact that we can pay attention to the fact that we are paying attention. So we'll be talking about that superpower. Sweet incentives. How do you encourage people to continue bringing in the energy and the engagement to the Energizers that you introduce them to? Show credibility, particularly when it comes to the science and the rational side of things, really impacts people and the way that they absorb these Energizers. And finally, respect autonomy. There will be certain individuals that will not want to participate in these exercises, and you need to respect that. All right, so we'll be taking these step by step. Let's start with number 1, setting your tone. This is a good example of me setting my tone, right? It's a very particular tone that I have. I was told that I was going to find a bit of a difficult crowd, and so I just decided to hit them early with this. There was definitely a deer in the headlights moment for many of them, but it was a good way to let them know what the engagement was going to be all about, and it helped. This is another really, really good example of setting a strong tone. Again, this doesn't mean it needs to be your tone, but it definitely was impactful.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Ballmer! I have 4 words for you. I love this company. Yes!
So I'm definitely not asking you to do what Steve Ballmer did, but it does send a good signal, a good message, right? That if you apply this to your personality and it's part of your organizational culture and you want to catch people by surprise and at the same time contage them with your enthusiasm for the mission or for the organization, doing this in a very early stage and moments of public awareness and attention and just hitting them in the right way can be extremely impactful. No one, I assure you, in that audience will ever forget that entrance. Here's another famous one.
Everybody in the audience, now listen to me carefully, is being given a special package, and I don't want you to open it. Do not open it. Cameras are on you, so do not open until I tell you. All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3. You get a car! 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 Everybody gets a car!
Everybody gets a car. So yes, admittedly, these examples are highly Americanized, right? The Europeans observing this might be thinking this is probably not going to be my approach, especially the Scandinavians, and I completely understand it. And that's exactly why the title of this small section is setting your tone. So it's really important to think about what your approach will be. It could be a little bit more intellectual. It could be a little more reserved, but it doesn't mean that the fact that you're not completely out there, you won't be impactful. You can be impactful and memorable in so many different ways. So it's important to think about that and do it early on, because it's the early things that you do that really sticks in the memories and the experiences of people participating in your events. As a quick example, a very famous facilitator travels around the world with a bicycle that works kind of backwards. So if you move the handles of the bicycle to the right, the bicycle moves to the left, and you move the handles to the left, the bicycle moves to the right. And he uses this example to show how difficult it is to adopt a change, right? How long it takes the brain to really figure things out when there's radical changes. He talks about technological change. He has people fall over on this bicycle, right? You don't have to travel around the world with a bicycle, but just think about the particular interventions that you will use to set that tone. Secondly, instructions instruct. So when you are facilitating and introducing particular energizers to a new group, it's really important for you to be crystal clear. Visualizations on screens can help a lot for people to really wrap their head around really quickly what the task is. Remember, early on in this course, we talked about this not necessarily being an intellectual challenge. It shouldn't be too complex or hairy. The simpler energizers are, the more useful they become. And so the introduction process is such an important part of simplifying, clarifying, having everybody be on the same page before you throw them in. The last thing you want is people kind of looking at each other with confusion, right? Clarity is everything. Another really important part of instructions, instruct, is that you need to lead by example. So if you introduce a really powerful energizer while you're very tired and discouraged, it will most definitely not work. So you need to really let people know what is expected of them. And the best way of doing that is just living it, fully embracing it. Sometimes you need to go even more overboard. Usually what people will end up doing is that they'll match 60%, 70% of your energy. There might be one or two who will match you full on, but generally people are still a little timid, particularly in the beginning. And so you really sometimes need to go overboard, especially if the energizer is about physical energy or about vulnerability. Anyway, this is an example of me introducing the Hunter Ninja Bear Energizer. 1, 2, 3. Hi-ya! 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 Right, so it's the same rules as rock, paper, scissors, but instead of using rock, paper, scissors, we use Ninja, Hunter, Bear. So the bear is rah, and the ninja, you just observed it, and the hunter, of course, the ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. So really important to highlight, overemphasize what you expect out of the group. Here's another example of clarity and also selecting a really good volunteer. This is something that you might want to start to think about before you introduce the Energizer. You can have a volunteer already selected or have noticed someone who seems to be a little more comfortable about standing out, and then you lay it out with clarity and with energy. Those are the 2 points of instructions, instruct. Come on over, Johannes. You're part of my team now. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have one individual in the team cross to the other side. This is enough of distance. She's going to turn around and she's going to do this. I'm a tree. So role playing. Up to you, Johannes, to become anything else around the tree environment. Step by step. There's the third and final crossing into the other side. So someone else is going to stand up. They're going to cross, and they're going to become whatever the hell they want to become. So suddenly they're like, I'm a kangaroo. And so the next person.
I'm an airplane.
And then some weird shit's going to happen. Okay? And so the idea here is that you're building on the idea of others. Any questions? So in other words, show, don't just tell. Also, before you launch them in, make sure that there's no questions. Everybody's on board, ready to go. And when you say go, they're all jumping into it with security and excitement. Point 3, match for purpose. This is really one of those tips that makes the difference between good and great Energizer facilitators, right? You need to really think about why you have selected the particular Energizer that you have selected. I will be sharing with you lots and lots and lots of different Energizers. You can access the Percademy Tribe app that has dozens and dozens of different Energizers. And so in that way, you think about team size, you think about what do you want to achieve, what tone you want to set, what goal you want to achieve after the Energizer is done, what phase of the engagement or the workshop you're in, what time of day it is, the energy levels that are existing at the moment, so many different things that you have to sense out, that you have to both analyze and feel. And then when you identify what's needed, you execute that need with the particular specific kind of Energizer that really serves purpose. So important. So let's say that you're starting out. One of the first things that you want to set is psychological safety, to let everybody know that it's okay to step out of that comfort zone, to be silly, to act in strange ways, to propose wild ideas. So you focus on the psychological safety. You might later think about connecting people, having them collaborate better, right? Being able to look into each other's eyes, leverage the body language and nonverbal cues that help us connect, as we've already talked. So you hit them with the icebreakers and Energizers that promote more connection. You might want to move on to creative activities, right? The bread and butter of innovation workshops. And so you focus on exercises that help people use the yes and mindset, right? Eventually, you might start to notice that people's attention levels and focus are kind of deviating from where you want them to be. And so you suddenly hit them with a focus Energizer. You bring them back to the present moment. Towards the end of the session, you might start to notice that energy levels start to drop again. It starts to get dark outside. People start to think about dinner or whatever it may be after the event. And so you again hit them with an energy focused Energizer. So it's all about really, really targeting the activity to the need. Number 4, meta awareness. This is where your ninja facilitator skills really become critical. And the ninja facilitator skills revolve around understanding the different layers that exist of awareness while you facilitate, while you train, while you teach, while you lead. It begins with the content, of course. You need to think about what Energizer you're going to be introducing, or what lesson you're going to be communicating. So you're focusing on delivering tangible value. And you need to become an expert on that value. Again, let's say that it's an Energizer. You've practiced it, you've gotten feedback, you're ready to deliver it, you've found fit for purpose. But then there's another layer. And that other layer is what's in front of you, what's externally going on. You sense the crowd. You're in the middle of an exercise or a workshop. You start to sense how people are feeling about whatever you're exposing them to. And that sensing, that feeling of your user, of your audience, will bring you so much information about energy levels, information about understanding levels, information about collaboration levels. So much information is coming your way. So while you focus on content, you should always also at the same time focus on audience. The best way of doing that is becoming a really good sensor of body language, right? Are people leaning in? Are people sitting back? Are people looking at each other? Are the conversations energized and lively? Right? Are people rolling their eyes? Right? Are people looking outside of the window? Are there individuals that seem to be tense with one another? The list goes on and on and on. And so externalizing your awareness while still being able to focus on delivering content is really a top level facilitator skill. Now, there's another layer to this. Instead of externalizing your awareness, now we also need to bring our awareness in, right? And we need to start to tap into our intuition. And you'll see how these three levels, they play with one another, right? You deliver the content, and to be able to deliver great content, you need to sense how people are receiving that content. And when you start to receive those looks and those gestures and those bodily reactions from the audience, you need to interpret them, you need to sense them, you need to dissect them because they're full of information. And the best way of dissecting them is to bring them to your gut, to ask your gut and heart, what does it mean? You might think that this is mumbo jumbo, but we've got neurons in our heart and in our belly. And it's through that interpretation of what you're sensing from the external world while you're delivering the content or the Energizer that will make you an extremely effective facilitator. And there's going to be a point where you're going to be facilitating and navigating and traveling in between these three levels without really thinking about it. It becomes instinctual. And really that's where the flow happens, right? When you're having an impact, when you're noticing what kind of impact that is having on other individuals while you're interpreting that impact internally, you're going in and out, in and out. The real magic happens with powerful meta awareness. 5, super simple one. You need to incentivize the right kind of behavior. Kind of like Pavlov's dogs. You need to really let people know what you expect of them. And when they deliver, you hit them with a chocolate. You hit them with a big clap, with a celebration. You call them out positively through their name. You need to highlight the right kind of behavior. And so what's right kind of behavior? Energizers that are energetic, energizers that are connected, energizers that are vulnerable, energizers that are reciprocal. We go back to our previous lessons. So when you see that behavior, you call it out. I always arrive in my workshops with lots and lots of quick lunches. They're better versions of Kit Kats. If it's not a quick lunch, find something else to really let people know that they're nailing it. These things sound childish, but I promise you they have an impact. They help people recognize what is the kind of behavior that is supported and requested and required in great human endeavors. Hit them with the cred. Showing credibility, particularly from science, from reputable science, is in the West the easiest way to let people know that this stuff works, particularly the naysayers and the skeptics, right? You show them that there's these studies, very smart people thinking deeply about how this impacts us socially, biologically, psychologically, emotionally. Now you have access to lots and lots of articles and books and videos that I've shared with you. Don't hesitate to show them as well to others, especially if your organization is highly analytical. I work with very, very analytical people from PhDs to corporate executives. And so science and data is always really convincing. So bring it on. Respecting autonomy is really important. It sends the message that you care and that you are respectful, particularly if individuals are not willing to jump on board with your Energizers. Totally understandable if there are individuals that are not ready, they're not in the right place during that time, their mind, preoccupation, energies could potentially be somewhere else. You never know what people are going through. For some individuals, it's too much to ask, and you need to be very, very respectful of those boundaries. You never want to force anyone to participate in any Energizer. You can encourage them, you can strongly encourage them, but there's a point where you need to completely let go. And this is a really good example. Can't tell what happened. So there was an individual who was completely and utterly passive. He took out his electronic device from the very, very start and just sat there. I, of course, had a little chat with him. I asked him how he was feeling. I encouraged him to participate. I also told him that if he wanted to leave, it was perfectly fine as well if he had other priorities, which sometimes happen. But he just decided to, throughout the 8-hour engagement, to sit there and browse the internet. Not the best situation because it doesn't send the right signal, but you need to be respectful, right? You need to always give others the benefit of the doubt and step away if they've decided not to engage. So to review, number 1, set your tone, not Steve Ballmer's tone or Oprah Winfrey's tone or my tone, your tone. Find it and execute it. 2, instructions instruct. Don't ruin the way you introduce Energizers. So important to plan it, practice it, prototype it. Clarity, role play, own it, energy, right? Really show what you are looking for. Don't only tell it, but show it. Match for purpose. Find the right Energizer for the right moment, the right kind of goal you want to achieve. We've got many Energizers. Be wise about the match for fit. Use your capacity of meta awareness. Move into these different levels of focusing and attention as a facilitator. You can focus on the content that you're delivering. You can focus on the individuals that are receiving that content. You can focus on how your body is feeling about the way people are receiving it, and you move at these different levels, up and down. Encourage people with treats or whatever you have to dangle in front of them so that they can know what kind of energy and what kind of mindset is encouraged throughout the event. Show credibility, lean on the science, and finally, always make sure to respect autonomy.